Welcome to the Invention Licensing Show. I'm your host, David Fidowa, and I'm here to help you license your product. And today I want to talk about the number one mistake I see inventors make on bringing their product to market. So let us jump right into it. The number one mistake that I see inventors make through bringing their product to market. And I want to say that with when you can learn from mistakes. That is how I learn very well, is I learn from mistakes. And the best part about learning from mistakes is that mistakes don't have to be yours. You just have to learn from other people's mistakes so that you can have a clearer path to bringing your product to market. So that's why I always love to bring to people my own personal mistakes and mistakes that my students have made in the past, because then they can avoid those obstacles in bringing their product to market. All the pitfalls, the heartache, the difficulty, the time, the debt, the money, all those things can be avoided if you listen to the mistakes of others. That's why I'm going to bring you the number one mistake that I see people bringing their product to market. And that mistake is filing utility patents too early. And I know that would be contradictory to a patent attorney's advice. And so this is not legal advice, but it's business advice. When you're filing utility patents, you're investing somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000 in patenting your product. I love PPAs, provisional patent applications. I use those all the time. They're my method of bringing products to market. But when you jump to the utility too quickly, what can happen? There's two things a lot of the times that I see happen, and I've had a student recently that this happens to, but I see it quite often, is that you file your utility patent, right? You write it up the best way that you can, and you go out and you pitch it to 10 to 15 companies. All the companies say, we don't like it. And you're like, what is happening? I spent $15,000. These companies need to like this. And so you start to work on it, you make some changes, and you repitch it again to another 20 companies, and you keep going. And then you realize that the market just doesn't want this. And so now you have a sunk cost of the 10 to 15 grand or whatever it ends up being on bringing your product to market. And so now nobody likes it, and you've got to now venture it yourself. But here's the issue with venturing. You've just pitched it to, sometimes 40, 50 professionals within an industry that have been there for 10, 15, 20 years at times, and they said it's not going to work for them. They wouldn't invest their money in it. And so why should you? And that's where the difficulty is a lot of inventors, when they get rejection and through licensing, they want to go venture. They say, well, that's not necessarily the best plan, because you have all these professionals saying that there's something wrong with your product, that it won't make it because of this. And listening to them is very important. But I will say, you can't stop there. You have to listen to them and listen to what they have to say, because sometimes their feedback is that it's not right for them. They're not saying it's not right for the market, but maybe the investment's not worth it for them. Or, their investment's too high, or, there's some other things that go to play, because that's, a lot of times people can venture products that wouldn't necessarily be licensed and make it to market. And so you do have to listen to the professionals when they tell you this is not going to work for whatever reason. And then, so that's reason number one. It's essentially, you file a utility patent, you go out and pitch it, and the market rejects it. So you have all this investment money that's into it, and now you don't know what to do with it because your primary objective was to license. And so now you've got to say, all right, well, what do I do now? Overinvestment too early. If you filed a PPA at $70 and you went out and did this pitch and you realize nobody likes it, you're out $70, not 10 grand. And that's my preferred method of taking products to market. And the second thing is, you do get interest. You spend the 10 grand, you get interest, but there's things that are wrong with your original design. And so, let's say it makes it so it costs too much to manufacture, or it's there's a feature that needs to be changed, or some aspect that's outside the scope of your patent. And this was one of the things that happened to my student. Was they spent the 10 grand, they pitched, company loved it, they wanted to move forward, but they needed to make changes to make it more manufacturable. Those changes were outside the scope of the patent. Patent needed to be refiled. And so now you've got a patent is essentially a sunk cost of the original investment gone because it needs to be, well, it wasn't gone because there were obviously some features in it that needed to be captured. So they needed to move forward on that one. And they needed to file another utility patent because it didn't cover the change in design. So the investment was too early, right? If they would have waited, they would have filed a PPA, they would have pitched, they would have got excited. Then refiling at that point would have been a lot easier. And so that number one mistake that inventors make is just filing the utility too early. I'm not saying don't use utilities. We use utilities. We use them, but knowing how they work, getting interest prior to the big investment is very important in getting your product to market without having the mistakes of losing out on an investment. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of License Your Invention with David Fidawa. I'm your host, David Fidawa, and as you know, I'm always here to help you license your product. If you like that episode, subscribe now. Also, I created the Inventor Toolbox, many tools of helping you bring your product to market, including calling scripts and a list of companies that you can get into, actual contact information of people in industries that are looking for new innovative products. So if you're interested in getting your product to market, scroll down below, click the link, put your email address in. We'll send you the Inventor Toolbox to get you started on your inventing journey. On the next episode, it is the golden ticket only the pros know about getting your products licensed. So I'll see you on the next episode.